Om, said the Almighty One. Thus all came into manifestation. The superflash creation of matter and energy was the result of the expansion of primordial consciousness from the void, the reawakening of all that is and all that will ever be. Out of its periodic rest state or pralaya, the one became the many. For all forms, galactic to cellular, slowly came to be. Yet all aspects of creation, the universe, and life in general exist through birth and death, appearance, growth, and disappearance, meaning they're all finite because they're impermanent or subject to change. The universe, with all of the matter and energy within it, is finite, but the source of its perpetual emanation is infinite and immutable. The expansion and contraction of the cyclic cosmos is seen in the esoteric parlance as the great breath, the inhalation and exhalation of the Creator. It proceeds from without, inwardly, when it is everywhere, and from within, outwardly, when it is nowhere. To better understand how the creation took place, imagine an object moving at infinite speed in an infinite number of time directions. No matter how much effort is applied to break the object, its speed will always remain infinite. Only when it is broken with an infinite power will the result be a finite speed. And this breaking power can be correlated with sound. And the breaking would generate a gigantic quantity of energy, which it did. The superflash creation was the result of emanating sounds from this infinite existence, colliding together, breaking the singular force into all the forces that exist now. The Om is the sacred word, the one primordial sound and mantra of unification for all existence, magnetizing all of the great cosmic currents into activity. Sound is therefore the instrument of creation. This is why music has such a strong effect on our thoughts and emotions. So the expansion of space and time and the appearance of a manifested universe within it is only a temporal process, a single moment within the wheel of eternity. However, the entire time the cosmos is in existence, it is in a perpetual state of evolution. More wisely put, the universal consciousness is slowly awakening to its realization through all the forms it created, including mankind. The universe emerges from the one eternal life. When in manifestation, this life has a triple mode of manifestation. These three aspects are spirit, soul, and matter, or life, consciousness, and form. Spirit is the one immutable, ceaseless, emotionless, ever-present cause of all actions. Matter, the effect of that cause, allows for the outward expression of that inner dynamic life to become actual and defined. For it is only in a vehicle of matter that consciousness wells up as I am I. Through the unification of matter and spirit, mother and father, a son was born, the soul, the center of man's consciousness and the true being within the body, seeking to slowly unfold its innate powers and to reveal the love of God. The soul therefore acts as a conduit for spirit and the animating principle for matter. Ultimately, it is the medium between that which is subjective and that which is objective. When in manifestation, the totality of these three aspects is the one life. This same truth is also expressed in Egyptian mythology as Osiris, Horus, and Isis, and in the Indian Vedic text as Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Brahma. In the Christian theology, we can see this triple mode of manifestation as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It is here where man's relationship to the Creator is to be found, and also his direct relationship to the Oversoul, or Logos as it is called, known as the heavenly man of the solar system. That greater life in which we move, live, and have our being. Just as our bodies are made of billions of lesser lives, so too the larger body of the heavenly man in which we inhabit is made of a myriad of lesser lives. As above, so below. Throughout history, the idea and conceptual understanding of the human soul can be seen like a golden thread throughout all religious and philosophical lines of thought. Since the dawn of conscious thinking, we have been pondering on how we got here and why. All races and civilizations have acknowledged the existence of a higher power, and through the ages, we have come to many different ideas and ideals. But now, at our current state of evolution, we can look upon this question with a more open and clear mind. To deeply ponder on this, we need to connect all the collective fragments of our psyche, from the past onto the present. All religious, philosophical, spiritual, scientific, and even mythical texts together. Recollect all knowledge we have accumulated throughout history and see that the truth of our being encompasses all of our thoughts, both conscious and subconscious. The truth is truly expansive enough to include everyone's idea of a positive nature. Yet, discernment of that truth is our primary task, as illusion and glamour can blind us from it as they hinder us from the path. Without the mind getting too caught up in concepts or conceptuality, and by letting the stillness preside within us and our magnetic heart centers attuned, we can now see that the purpose of creation is for us to realize the purpose, to embody it, to be it. The infinitization of the self, or to restore thyself onto the self, is the process in which we attain a continuity of realization upon not only the physical plane, but also the more subtle planes of matter, and to ultimately attain a conscious alignment with our higher nature, to literally spiritualize matter. This is our ultimate goal and purpose as human beings. By looking far deeper than just names and forms, by looking through the flesh and blood, we will see that the underlying principle within us all is one consciousness expressing itself through the many. As our own innate psychic powers unfold, we will see this truth more clearly, and will be able to more readily attune ourselves with it and work to serve the plan. The goal of that plan is for us to merge the qualities of our higher nature into our lower nature. To do this, we must perfect our character. This perfection must have 5 aspects to it: love, truth, peace, righteousness, and nonviolence. Ponder on this, for it dwells deep in our hearts and in all beings. It holds much truth and a great secret to life. Evolution has brought us far upon our journey here on Earth as spiritual beingness incarnating into material beings. In the occult teachings, it is known that our journey began here on Earth some 21 million years ago, when our souls individualized or moved from the animal kingdom into the human kingdom. In fact, all consciousness in material forms is in an evolutionary process of moving from the lower stages of life into the higher stages of life. And all life on Earth can be essentially divided into 5 kingdoms. Since our individualization, we have seen the appearance and disappearance of many ancient civilizations, each with their own unique purpose and plan. We have gone through 3 root races over the last 21 million years: the early Lemurian or 3rd root race, and the later Atlantean or 4th root race, and our present Aryan or 5th root race. The purpose of these 3 races was to bring about the sequential development and coordination between the soul and its threefold personality: the physical, emotional, and mental bodies. However, the 1st and 2nd root races was before our consciousness existed in material forms, and so will not be touched upon here. In Lemuria, we developed the coordination between our soul and its physical instrument. Since then, our physical bodies have become much smaller and more refined, and look nothing like they did 21 million years ago, or even 5 million years ago for that matter. During the 4th or Atlantean root race, evolution brought us further forward with the expression of our emotional nature, the step right beyond our physical expression. As the ages passed and the 4th root race became more developed, this brought about a powerful emotional polarization between humanity at that time, and the demise of Atlantis was ultimately caused from the over-domination of selfishness amongst the race. The biblical stories of the flood and Noah's Ark were metaphors for what actually happened during the sinking of the Atlantean continent, which is also spoken of in other scriptures of the world. Now, in our present 5th root race, the Aryan, which means noble in Sanskrit, we are bringing about the coordination and control of our mental bodies. However, in this present 5th root race, it is only our lower or concrete mind which has come into full expression, whilst the higher or more abstract mind is now just beginning to come into expression. And we are told that the next 6th root race won't fully emerge until about 25,000 years from now, and the unification of our spiritual identity, or our highest nature, will not come into full expression until the final 7th root race. The involution of our spirits, or their descent further and further into matter through the medium of a soul, is, in reality, the true history of our evolution. There is still much more evolution to come, but we have come far with critical thinking, abstract thought, reason, and inquiry as new tools for our minds. These tools can increase our levels of awareness and steadily unfold the truth of our being to us. We now know that everything is just energy. Certain experiments in science have also shown us that matter and energy are interchangeable. Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, revealed this to us. And just recently, it was speculated that certain particles may actually be able to travel faster than the speed of light, something that was once thought impossible since the beginning of particle physics. We must therefore not let the over-identification of our concrete minds to inhibit our discovery for truth. For we are stepping out of the era of belief and into the era of knowing. From this knowing of our true self, humanity will step into the golden age. Through energy the worlds were made, and through that energy they make progression. Through energy forms unfold and die. Through energy the kingdoms manifest and disappear below the threshold of the world, which is ever and will be forever. For energy is all there is, Ocella in the light, but not known. It is the cause of knowledge and its application, and its comprehension leads to expanded understanding.
Shivoham, 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 Shivoham. रत्नैः कल्पितमासनं हिमजलैः स्नानं च दिव्याम्बरम्.
Om, said the Almighty One. Thus all came into manifestation. Before all of this was here, before all kingdoms in nature and all human life, and even before the earth itself, all of it was just a vision, a divine word within the mind of our solar logos. Om. This same universal sound is reproduced by a solar logos to bring about the manifestation of a solar system. This deity, with its very high level of consciousness, will undergo its own evolution through the many planetary schemes within its body. Just like our own bodies have 7 chakras, so too the 7 sacred planets of our solar system form the 7 chakras within the body of our solar logos. Once the entire plan was visualized from beginning to end, and the requirements for the evolution of consciousness attained, our solar logos went into a deep meditative state and thus created our solar system, planet, and humanity. In esoteric teachings, it is known that our own soul is in a meditative state while in physical incarnation. The soul does not exist in a way that we can perceive with our 5 senses, but it does exist on a higher plane. When the soul is impelled by the law of rebirth to incarnate again by creating a vehicle to come into physical life, it lowers its vibration and comes down into what is known as the causal plane. The causal plane is a level of manifestation right below the Buddhic plane, but above the mental, emotional, and physical planes. It is neither subjective or objective, and is known as the temple of the soul. The causal body acts as the storehouse for the many experiences gained from reincarnation. It is the fabric of this body in which everything is carefully weaved. The memories of the lessons gathered, the virtues acquired, and the vices of the personality that still remain and will need to bow before the light of the soul. As the soul remains in deep meditation upon the causal plane throughout incarnation, it contemplates and awaits contact with its vehicle, building a bridge, if you will, with the personality. The purpose for this is self-realization, the realization of man's own soul, the reflection of God. O thou who givest sustenance to the universe, from whom all things proceed, to whom all things return, unveil to us the face of the true spiritual sun, hidden by a disk of golden light, that we may know the truth and do our whole duty as we journey to thy sacred feet. Bhur Bhruva Suvaha Tat Savitur Verenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodaya. The soul must therefore experience itself in many different ways and forms, and in varying cultures. Man, woman, father, mother, king, beggar, or businessman. After many lifetimes, the goal is to reach the point where the lower self or personality can be controlled by the soul's influences by the personality consciously moving away from the physical senses and merging with the soul's energies. Eventually, the personality becoming a reflection of the soul, or an enlightened man. Throughout the ages, many individuals have already achieved this ultimate goal of attainment, and have thusly liberated themselves from the cyclic process of rebirth by mastering their own lower nature through lifetimes of experience and expansions of consciousness. This same achievement is the destiny for the souls of all men. However, perfection is only relative. A soul can reach an evolutionary point of perfection from the human standpoint, but as one cycle of life is mastered, an even greater cycle lies before it. Within this kingdom of souls are to be found many of all the great religious and philosophical teachers of old, who have now ascended beyond the human stage of life and have chosen to guide the rest of us to reach that same achievement. Such names as Plato, the Buddha, Jesus, Pythagoras, Muhammad, Leonardo da Vinci, and many others. They are not masters in any authoritarian sense, but masters of themselves. Ponder on this, for they have also mastered the forces of nature, the elements, and the energies which seek to condition them. Physically, they are still among us, living mostly in remote desert and mountainous areas around the world, but operating on higher planes of consciousness. They work behind the scenes with their disciples for the evolution of mankind, acting as the custodians for the forces of evolution. Many of these so-called masters of wisdom, or Mahatmas, have once again, out of their own free will, taken physical bodies and have now settled into key cities around the world, functioning as magnetic force centers of expression within each of these cities. New York, London, Geneva, Darjeeling, and Tokyo are the 5 main spiritual centers upon our planet. And through their selfless love for all sentient life, and through their continuous method of service, they seek to inspire and reveal to us our own innate divinity through gradual expansions of consciousness. This spiritual hierarchy is divided into 3 main departments: the Manu, Bodhisattva, and Mahachohan, each department with the responsibility of bringing about the development of certain world affairs. Together, they form the inner government of our planet. The masters also govern under certain rays of expression, and depending on their ray structure, they control and manipulate energies channeled down to them from our planetary logos, and to his reflection, the Lord of the world. This great being called Sanat Kumara is also known in the Bible as the Ancient of Days, the youth of endless summers. He is the one initiator. In some scriptures of the world, he is called the Great Sacrifice. His aura engulfs the entire planet with his divine energy, And it is he who presides over the Lodge of Masters and holds in his hands the reins of government in all three departments, overseeing all events on earth from his throne at Shambhala in the Great Gobi Desert. Just as our personality is to our soul, so too Sanat Kumara is to our planetary logos. He has chosen to watch over the evolution of men and devas until all have been occultly saved, sacrificing his own high point of evolution to guide the souls of men unto perfection. Yet, such a being cannot exist physically, because of his incredibly high nature and stature. However, he does preside on the etheric plane, which is a part of the physical. Existing within such density, even though etherically, is why he is known as the Great Sacrifice. Sanat Kumara operates on an even higher plane of consciousness than the ascended masters, and in turn works accordingly with our solar logos. The solar logos can be regarded as the sum total of all states of consciousness within the solar system, and can be recognized as the God of our solar system. All the cosmic energies that condition the evolution of our human consciousness emerge from the one universal life. They are the 7 rays, which then flow into our solar system via the 12 zodiacal constellations, then into our planetary system through Sanat Kumara. Once these energies are distilled, the ascended masters then channel that same energy into the mental, astral, and physical planes of our earth. That energy does and can potentially become a part of everyone's individual consciousness. The purpose of this planetary and solar hierarchy is to manage and develop the evolution of all the kingdoms of nature according to the laws of karma and the plan of the Logos. Evolution is a term that most people only associate with Darwinism, metamorphosis, or physical change. In an esoteric sense, we are talking about evolution on a much grander scale, the evolution of consciousness, and how each kingdom of nature is built upon the previous. Evolution is therefore not something that just happens by random chance or coincidence, but is something that is also managed and governed by higher forms of intelligence within our planetary scheme and solar system. Ponder on this, for it is through the expansion of consciousness and the production of increased sensitivity and perceptive awareness which lets an individual mind operate on these higher planes of manifestation. All that you experience is according to where your level of evolution and self-development resonates. Atma tvam girijamate sahacharaha pranaha shariram graham pujate vishayopabhoga rachana Nitra samadhi sthitihi Sancharaha patiyoha pratakshana vidhi Stotrani sarvagiro Yat karma karomi tat akhilam Shambho We can now see how all the civilizations, revolutions, politics, wars, and festivals throughout human history have been necessary for our human soul to experience for its own evolution. All of it has played out its necessary part in the grand scheme of things. Human nature evolves through social and political building, destruction, rebuilding through re-evaluation, as an ongoing thread of interaction. Our relationships, art, music, media, cultures, religions have really just been our human collective consciousness interacting with itself through all the races of people on the planet. It has been learning from this interaction and has brought forth an extensive and higher level of awareness by understanding what love, truth, and peace are. It is these simple qualities and principles which lay at the very foundation for our achievement as human beings. We are moving into a period of climax, leading to events which will fundamentally alter life as we know it. Changes must take place in all departments of life to establish a new way of symbiotic living that meets the needs of all human life, based on sharing and cooperation. This will take a profound change of heart, and to see the unjust ways of the world to embrace a new direction in our political, economic, and social institutions for humanity to survive. There is a growing level of awareness that a new spiritual age is dawning, under the guidance of the spiritual hierarchy of masters of wisdom, whose energies and ideas have been the stimulating factor behind our evolution, and who are beginning to emerge from their ancient retreats to guide us into the Aquarian Age. Under cyclic law and in response to humanity's need, they are returning to the outer everyday world of men, and at their head is the master of all the masters, the world teacher, known in the West as the Christ. He is a man too, and comes as a brother, teacher, and friend, to inspire humanity to create for itself a better and more sustainable world. To those who can respond, he will show the way to live together more simply, as brothers, meeting the needs of all men. He also comes to finish the job he embarked on over 2,000 years ago. The truth encompasses all aspects of our beliefs and what we have learned and experienced. The greatest analogy of life is oneness. This is symbolic of the relation between the microcosm and macrocosm as being interconnected reflections of each other. Like electrons and protons orbit an atom's nucleus, planets and moons orbit the stars. Within the universal body is to be found billions of cells, galaxies, in which is also found billions of atoms, stars. Just like our own bodies are made of billions of cells, each with billions of atoms. For man is a conscious co-creator within creation. He is a sum total of all the kingdoms below him, but also connecting and unifying his divine self with the material world. Merging science with spirituality is a very important element we must attain to further our own understanding. We must see that evolution is the process of creation. It is only our simple misunderstanding which have separated the two. We must learn the nature of the self within us and meditate on its transcendental power. Only until we are able to control the lower self and direct our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes towards the light can our higher self make its presence felt. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. The consciousness of humanity is in a transformational process right now. A fundamental leap in evolution is occurring on the planet. This is why events are happening the way they are in the world, for the only thing that is permanent is change. A great opportunity for the expansion of consciousness has come forth to humanity. The realization at hand is to embrace that we are all one entity, an expression of one human collective consciousness. Yet we each have our own unique individual way of expressing its qualities, something that is needed for evolution to progress. This realization of the one human consciousness will eventually lead us to an even greater realization, that of universal consciousness, and how the varying forces affect the great cosmic dance. For each time an individual's consciousness becomes self-realized, that small aspect of the universal consciousness becomes that much more awakened. Everyone plays his or her necessary role in this great cosmic dance called life.
करचरण कृतं वा कायजं कर्मजं वा श्रवणनयनजं वा मानसं वापराधं विहितमविहितं